Dan Wootton has the audacity on the GB News website to say, and I quote, "And above all, I promise there will be no spin, no bias." You clown. Yeah, you got me. I very nearly fainted. GB News is a prime example of why watching too much news is really just not a good idea. You will experience extreme brain rot. There have been multiple instances where they've brought vegans onto GB News to go against a farmer, and this one has had multiple appearances on GB News in order to combat the bloody vegans.
Now, while eco-extremists continue to wage a war on meat, one no-nonsense farmer has revealed the stark reality of their delirious dream world.
Already so biased, and painfully so, beginning it by poisoning the well. Just so you know, people at home are primed to think in a very specific way, which is a really good thing for a news channel to do, and we'll see later precisely why this is extra bad.
The man himself, Britain's favourite farmer, Gareth Wyn-Jones, and a spokesperson for Animal Rebellion, Nathan McGovern. And it's not like you are against these vegan activists, but in fact, we have to keep eating meat, don't we?
The host says we need to eat meat, don't we? Don't we? Gareth, we do need to eat meat.
Yeah, well, it's a good way of getting protein into your body. It's very healthy, nutritious. My family's been on this farm, farming this land 375 years.
Protein, though, and it's been in my family for generations. What does this have to do with the question that you were asked? That conveys to me that you don't actually know whether or not it's a biological requirement, especially if you're saying things like protein, though. Are you saying that we cannot meet our protein requirements on a plant-based diet? Oof, okay.
And it's a sustainable, environmentally friendly way of producing protein from marginal land. Let's not forget, a lot of the UK is marginal. We have a great temperate climate, which grows grass and different flora and fauna, where the sheep and the cattle can graze, and we can eat them.
Sustainable? How can they say this so confidently? Also, the majority of flesh consumed in the UK is factory farmed, so you're painting this picture of how animals live, neglecting the majority of the actual picture. That's amazing.
When people start misleading other people with propaganda to say that their diet is going to save the planet, well, that is totally untrue.
Nathan, you need to respond to that, don't you? Because I actually agree with Gareth. You're spouting propaganda here.
I agree with Gareth. You're spouting propaganda here. If I make it through this entire video, if I get to the other side, I'd like you to smash like, because I'm experiencing severe necrosis of the brain as we speak. Okay, I don't think I'm going to make it.
Well, first of all, I would actually like to say, I think all of us here agree on a lot more than we disagree on. Just before, in that Telegraph clip, Gareth, I heard you speak about farmers being undervalued. That is a fact, absolutely. We have a government that, is cutting subsidies left, right and centre for farmers, going and pursuing free trade at all costs. You've even talked about yourself, the dangers of relying on global food markets when we have massive.
Don't you want to stop all livestock farming?
And the bias again is so clear. He won't even let the Animal Rebellion member, Nathan, finish his point. In fact, going through the video, I don't think he lets him finish many points at all. He let Gareth go on a load of bollocks, uninterrupted. So what's going on here? Of whom, by the way, seemingly can't put his titty juice down for longer than 2 seconds. I mean, probably due to how environmentally unfriendly animal agriculture is, you probably still will be able to still consume your flesh. It just will probably come from a lab. Thankfully, that way, animals won't have to be stabbed for your habits.
What Animal Rebellion is calling for is a just transition to a plant-based food system. And
with no meat whatsoever.
It's about working with farmers to achieve that. And it's about understanding that farmers are the people who are at the front lines of this. Farmers are the ones.
What about the members of the public who, like me, who are going to keep eating meat till the day that I die?
Dan, I think there's something very important to understand about the food system we have. As I already said, it's exploiting farmers no end, but it's also exploiting the planet, and it's hugely inefficient. And I'm sure, both of you can agree with me on, this principle of we should have an efficient food system. About 83% of global farmland is used for animal products. That produces only 37%.
But Gareth,
so again, cutting off Nathan just as he's putting out a statistic.
I was listening to what you were saying earlier, Gareth, and actually you say that farming meat is actually, in many cases, far more efficient and environmentally friendly than a plant-based food system.
Oh, but Gareth, you said it was sustainable. We'll not allow Nathan to actually finish his statistic and, God forbid, maybe even quote something where people can go and look. Please, Gareth, tell me I can still consume flesh.
Yeah, the problem Nathan doesn't understand is the soil fertility, and without ruminants, we won't have soil fertility.
Gareth gives this dichotomy where either we have cows and we stab them, or they're gone forever. Sanctuaries exist, Gareth. If ruminants are really so beneficial for this reason, then we could have a mutually beneficial relationship with them without being harmful to them, without killing them and using their bodies for flesh.
Can I just ask you, Nathan, how much food do you grow yourself? How much stuff do you plant? And the percentage of the food that you're growing, are you eating?
And I love this. How much food do you grow? You can't have an opinion unless you grow potatoes in your back garden. This is just bait. It doesn't take away from the statistics whatsoever. It would have been cool for Nathan to actually be allowed to finish his stat from earlier, before he was cut off. And cut off again with gems like this.
Yeah, great question, Gareth. Well, actually at home, I compost as far as I can to plant, in our, small outside area where I live. I plant as much as I can to grow food for myself, because I understand the value of that. And actually, I see the joy that I experience in seeing, what we have planted actually growing.
Well, what about the joy that I experience eating a steak?
God, who is actually this utter clown?
Where do you get off telling me what I choose to eat?
You'd do the same thing. Would you let people eat dogs, cats, humans? We all draw the line somewhere. It's just a question of where do we draw the line. And given that there's no relevant moral difference between humans and other animals that would justify exploiting and killing them and consuming their flesh, what's the argument for you drawing the line at, cows, chickens and pigs?
And that's what I think you need to be honest about here, Nathan, because not only are you telling all farmers to ditch livestock farming altogether, you're actually telling all Brits to stop eating meat altogether, aren't you? You want all of us to turn into unhealthy vegans, fainting all the time, breaking our hips all the time.
Apparently, vegans are unhealthy and faint all of the time. Well, I'm close to fainting because you're clearly so biased. And interestingly, I found out something about Dan here, and it really nearly did make me faint. Because the bias on news channels is so clear, but the transparency about that isn't. In fact, they claim the opposite. Dan Wootton has the audacity on the GB News website to say, and I quote, "And above all, I promise there will be no spin, no bias." You clown. Yeah, you got me. I very nearly fainted. It's definitely veganism though. Yeah, 100%.
Well, I don't think I really embody that emaciated vegan stereotype you might
Well, no,
have
but
in your
you'll
head.
break a hip probably later in life. I don't know if you saw the research earlier this year, but vegans have a far, far higher chance of breaking their hips.
Well, Dan, just to talk about that study, that's one study amongst many. And it's actually not a research about the male biology. It was a research about the female biology. So that might not apply to me.
Well, I think male vegans are very unhealthy too.
Firstly, as far as I'm aware, they lumped vegetarians and vegans together with the study. The articles that reference this study all say vegan, but if you look at the study from BMC Medicine, vegetarians but not occasional meat eaters or pescatarians had a greater risk of hip fracture than regular meat eaters. It says in the study that vegans were combined with the vegetarian group due to the small number of vegan participants. And it seems that given diets have given benefits and risks. When we weigh up the data for plant-based diets, it seems that it lowers risks of some of our leading diet-related killers. So, I'd take the risk of a hip fracture over heart disease, or certain cancers, or diabetes, stuff like that.
This is not your oat milk or your soya milk, or your rubbish that's flown from all over the world, the almond milk.
The data demonstrates that plant-based milk is more environmentally friendly. That baby juice isn't helping your brain.
We've got to be sustainable. We need food security in this country.
But Nathan, you have a problem with that bottle of milk, don't you?
Oh, but Nathan, you have a problem with that milk, don't you? Watching him people please the farmer is cringing me out. He hasn't substantiated that cow's milk is environmentally friendlier or that we can't meet food security in a future plant-based system. So I don't know why you're hugging his nuts so much, to be honest.
You actually would rather have one of these bizarre soya milk that has come from the other side of the planet.
Other side of the planet? There's oat milk grown in the UK, Dan.
The fact of the matter is that producing dairy milk use multitudes times more land, more water, whilst also producing more emissions.
Oh, he's gone. We've lost him. Nathan, Nathan.
Uh-oh, my main boy's gone and Nathan just made a claim.
Let me ask you, how on earth do you think the British people are going to accept giving up the thing that many of us love more than anything?
So how are you going to deal with the fact that people probably won't accept this? You know, how are you going to deal with that? Humans love routines and things remaining the same. People were up in arms when seat belts were introduced. It's not about whether or not people accept things. We see with the seatbelt example, even when something's really beneficial, people will be opposed to having something pressed on them. So it's not about whether or not people will accept it, it's about what the best thing to do is.
You're trying to control our lives.
You're trying to control our lives. Oh, you know what? It's always so hastily ironic from people who literally pay others to control the entire lives of other animals. It just never gets old.
Where do you get off?
Where do you get off? Is he okay? I think he needs a sip of that baby juice. Maybe he hasn't been eyeing up Gareth this entire time, but his milk. That would explain the nut hugging.
Well, the people trying to control our lives are at the Home Office and in Parliament right now. They're the ones that are artificially manufacturing low prices in supermarkets. You know, if you look...
No, but just be honest about your agenda, because...
No. Don't actually make a point. I need you to look crazy, okay?
I'm talking about people who are sitting at home and want to know about the animal rebellion agenda. You are telling us very soon we're not going to be able to eat any meat, aren't you, whatsoever? That's what you want.
I don't know what to tell you, okay? We are all restricted to a degree, and that's often based upon, you know, whether or not those things that we do will have negative outcomes for others. And given that animal agriculture has a negative outcome for approximately 1 trillion, you know, non-human animals every single year, and negative outcomes that extend to human beings and the planet, yeah, probably a good idea to restrict that and look to better alternatives. Yeah, Dan.
Well, what I would love to see is to have a government step up with a bold and decisive politics and support farmers who have been in a cost of living crisis for years longer than the rest of us.
Okay, I think we've got Gareth back, so I'm just going to give Gareth the final word.
And as usual, the farmer is given the final word. I love GBDs. They do this often.
Gareth, I thought you might have stormed off there.
No, I was having a sup of milk.
More milk. He had to actually go off camera to drink it this time. I do wonder what he was doing with it.
I've got some rabbit problems. We're going out shooting rabbits now, just to watch after my veg. But let's have a farming.
Don't tell Nathan that.
I think Dan might be in love with this man. The nut hugging.
Don't tell Nathan that.
As a lesbian, I am hardwired with gaydar, and I must say it's ding-a-ding-a-linging a little bit right now.
In this country, let's get people behind British agriculture any which way we can.
Yes.
And I'm sorry, really nice to meet you, Nathan, but I totally disagree with your animal rebellion.
I'd love to continue this conversation.
With your vegan diet, and I hope your health holds out. Iechyd da from Wales, living the dream.
Thank you so much to Britain's favourite farmer, Gareth Wynne-Jones.
Yeah, he's in love with Gareth. Get behind British agriculture. Yeah, I am behind British agriculture. They give me my potatoes. Bunch of lads.
Good luck with your vegan diet, and I hope your health holds out.
I hope your health holds out. Little jab there at the end that you, again, will not substantiate.
So who do you agree with? Should we keep eating meat out of principle to send a message to eco-extremists like the animal rebellion?
What do you think? I basically poisoned the well at the beginning and primed you to think a certain way, and it was a 2v1 essentially, but what do you think?
Susan on Twitter says, I only eat meat once or twice a week, but I feel like eating more just to upset these dreadful people.
Oh my god, Susan, that is a fresh take right there. In my 8 years of veganism, I have not yet heard that one, so thank you. Ooh, a bit of fresh content there.
And your verdict is now in. 92% of you agree that we should keep eating meat out of principle against eco-extremists. Just 8% of you wanting to go vegan.
Oh, wow. The majority who eats animals thinks that we should eat animals. Oh, thank God for the news sites. Giving it to us hot and fresh. So this solidifies to me that, yeah, these news sites are actual brain rot. They love to talk about being non-biased and, you heard it from the horse's mouth. He promises no biases, no spins. And I didn't see one here whatsoever. No, not even slightly. But yeah, GB News at it once again. So terrible. But for some daft reason, I would just love to get on there. I really would. And maybe one day, hey. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Smash the like button because I did actually make it through the entire video. I hope you're well. And until next time, salads. I will see you soon.